How many matches in this World Cup need to drag on before people start to suggest they change the playing conditions? The answer is -1 because it's already happened. I actually wonder if ODI cricket exists so we can change it. Since the 2000s, that has been what's happened. With the super sub, which was terrible, people still hate the second new ball, and the 4 players outside in the second power play, which has kind of made the boring middle overs more fun, but it's still a long watch for a little payoff. So is there a way we could make ODI cricket just a better all-round spectacle? Less like the 2-hour director's cut of a music video that it currently is. Most of the old changes were kind of limp wafts outside off stump by people who didn't really love the format that much in the first place. But what if cricket actually sat down and tried to do this properly? And they said, can we fix 50 over cricket's on-field spectacle so it makes more sense to fight for it off the field? This video is brought to you by Wicket Cricket Manager. Want more content? Well, our other channel, Jarrod Kimber Podcast, has a live show called The Scoreboard at the end of each day during this World Cup. Watch me try to react to all this madness live and also answer your questions. Mark Nicholas sat down in the MCC chair and instantly said that bilaterals should be cancelled. Now, the MCC has no power in their chair, no matter how nice the upholstery is. So what he says doesn't ultimately matter. But the problem with this is that it doesn't address the issue. It is the third favourite format for a reason. And if you get rid of bilaterals, why would you keep a 50 over World Cup? In fact, right at the moment, ODI cricket has no reason to exist as it is currently played. Think about it this, there are 3 major versions of rugby, Union, League and Sevens, and they are all very different. What is ODI cricket's main differential to T20 outside of the fact that it takes longer? If one-day international cricket had a doomsday clock, it would be at 11:45. So like a batter on a green top with 7 wickets down before lunch. So I figure the best thing to do here is to attack recklessly. So let's play some extravagant shots and come up with a way of changing the game on the field. What if we got rid of bowler limits? Ooh, we can't have bowlers delivering 25 in a day like the old club game because no one really wants that. And certainly no bowler wants that. But 10 overs per bowler is an arbitrary number decided by people who probably aren't even breathing anymore. And that 20% rule means that we usually have one player who's either not very good at batting or very good at bowling in the 11. So if we had unlimited overs, or more likely 12 or 13, that's more overs of Jasprit Bumrah out of 50. It's certainly a lot. I'd much rather watch 3 overs than that than some poor 5th bowler who shouldn't be bowling in the first place. This was actually trialled in Australia a decade or so back, and I thought it worked at the time. It certainly meant that we saw a lot more of those terrible spoiler bowls that no one pays to watch. That is a win. So what if we got rid of the ring? I know, right? This was partly brought in because teams put everyone back on the fence. In those days, having 9 players on the rope made the game incredibly boring. It doesn't now. In fact, how many times do we see players at the end of test innings still scoring boundaries with all the field out? It could also give captains incredible flexibility throughout the game. Ben Stokes might unretire again if we brought this in just so he could captain it. The Big Bash put a random power player in the middle of their game, and obviously ODI has tried a similar thing before. Both times it was to grab interest during those boring middle bits of the game. So what if we did something a little funner? 1 player out in the first 10, 2 in the second 10, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and you guessed it, 5 in the fifth. You could also have 2 out for the first 20 if that's how you want to do it. This would mean that players are constantly attacking earlier on rather than the slow ramp up we have in one-day cricket at the moment. And it would certainly spice up the middle overs quite a bit. And as ODI cricket is currently played, teams really only start attacking full on in the last 15 overs unless it's a really flat pitch. Have you ever wondered how I watch so much cricket? I use VPNs to log into accounts from all around the world. But because before, even simple things like when something exciting would happen in a match, I would rush over to social media, and when I got there, the clips would say something along the lines of, "This video is not available in your area." In fact, most of the coolest cricket stuff in the world at the moment is geo-blocked because some random board didn't sign a deal where you happen to live. If you're a hardcore cricket nerd, the only way is to have a VPN, and we suggest Surfshark. They will give you the speed of your favorite quick bowler. They're as inventive as a T20 batter after a bunch of dot balls, and they're as secure as a specialist wicketkeeper with the softest hands in the world. And guess what? The kind folks at Surfshark are going to give you a deal. Enter the promo code Kimber for an extra 3 months free at surfshark.deals/Kimber. There are probably other things that Surfshark can help you with, like data and identity theft and traceability and intrusive advertising. But for us, it is our best weapon against the evil cricket geoblock. Go to Surfshark and type my name in Kimber and get 3 months free today. Cricket will have subs, and it's kind of weird that it hasn't happened yet. T20 cricket is flirting with it, but like one day cricket tried with its super sub, it's a very weak attempt. But what if ODI cricket just went, no, we want the 10 best batters against the 5 best bowlers. T20 and Test cricket is absolutely nothing like that. That is something worth thinking about. 2 new balls. I know what you're thinking. We already have 2 new balls and we should just fix it by making balls that actually work. That's certainly what I believe. But anyway, we have 2 new balls to overcome the idiocy of not fixing the 1 ball. But since we're going to have 2 new balls, could we let the captains decide on when to use it? I would assume that teams would use one for 7 overs and then another one for 7 overs more often than not. Or maybe I'm getting it wrong and they'd use the 2 new ones up front. But what if you got 1 ball to reverse and not the other? And it's possible you might get one that you use early on to try and get it to reverse, and you might not do that with the other one. And in Asia, would you save your 1 new ball for your spinners after the power play? You could take a punt on Sachin's idea of splitting 100 overs into 4 innings. The reason I don't think this worked is because I've seen it trialled in Australia and teams were actually playing for the break. I watched a game where Aaron Finch was blocking out like the 23rd, 24th, 25th over because they were playing to not lose wickets. That is definitely not what we want. And my version of this may also not work because of that. But I wondered if we supersized it, if we could get rid of that problem. At the moment, day-night ODIs have always had the same issue, which is that you are playing 2 separate forms of cricket in certain locations. So what if cricket copied baseball and actually had games split up into 10 over totals? It would certainly help with the perennial who is winning comment. I think in more one-sided games, it would mean that at least every 10 overs you're watching one team who could bat or one team who could bowl. I think in very one-sided games, it would help, especially if one team was very poor with the bat. I think the biggest problem in ODI cricket all the way back to the 1970s is when one team is batting bad, it still takes 3.5 hours to go through. If you can mix that up with the other team batting good, that's a lot better. I've watched a lot of ODIs where I think to myself, I just shouldn't have to watch 3.5 hours straight of this. I believe that T20 will very soon be played on hybrid wickets, or even possibly AstroTurf. I won't get into the full reasons for that, but I do think it's coming. What if ODI cricket went the complete other way and produced the most bowler-friendly wickets around? Lower scores usually mean closer games, and it would be an instantly different product than T20. If pink balls are better than white, which is generally what I hear from the players, you could say that they should already be used in ODI cricket. If they stay harder for longer than white ball, that will make the spectacle more fun. That's more power hitting, quicker bowling, and faster turn. And this one might sound weird, but hear me out. 40 over cricket was my favourite format of limited overs because it still really tested your skill over a period of time, but there wasn't as many flat bits in the game. But the only way that you could make one day cricket 40 overs now would be to implement some of my other changes, because otherwise making it 40 overs now makes it even more like T20's uncle that just won't leave the bar. But let's say one of these radical suggestions actually worked, and ODIs got popular again. That would bring us back to the main issue, which is that no one is really in charge of cricket, and if they were, they'd be in charge of T20. If you have one organisation in charge of all 3 formats of cricket, the lesser 2 will still struggle. And I just don't believe there is any form of ODI cricket that will work better than T20. The truth is that even improving ODI cricket may not actually save it. You might just continue this complicated cricket climate we live in. And you surely cannot save the game with funky fields alone. It needs governance, direction, and people who put it first. So if one idea here did flukily save the ODI game, the best case scenario we have is that we still have 3 formats alive where only one is promoted and the other 2 spend all of their time just looking at each other, trying to work out which one is the third wheel.